1. Drunk. I met a group of soldiers on the high-speed train. I went up and hugged the arm of their leader and cried, "When on earth will the country give me a partner?" The leader pointed casually. Ryan. Fallout. It is said that a person who has been a bridesmaid 3 times can't get married. This is the 9th time I have been a bridesmaid. The older I get, the fewer unmarried women are available among my friends. My college roommate patted me on the shoulder with relief. Fortunately, there is you. Ciao xia. You are now considered to have achieved perfection. You were the bridesmaid for all 7 of us in our dormitory. When will you get married yourself? I want to too. First of all, I need a man. In my school days, my mother coaxed me that as long as I studied hard, when I grew up, the country would give me a partner. But until I graduated with a master's degree, my mother suddenly asked me, "Why haven't you been in a relationship?" I was full of confusion. "I'm waiting for you to introduce me. Didn't you say that the country will send one?" My mother looked at me with the eyes of looking at an idiot and turned her head and said helplessly to my father, "It's over. She has been taught stupidly, and will have to be kept in our hands." My mother's words came true. Until I was 30 years old, I still couldn't find a suitable partner. Looking at my former classmates and friends in pairs, I was full of bitterness. It's not that I really want to get married so much. It's just that now, in my prime, sometimes I am a bit greedy for men. I drank a few glasses of red wine. When I got on the train, I was still very sober. But after a while, I suddenly felt a bit tipsy. Have I imagined a man so much that I have hallucinations? What is this in front of me? A long line of young men in military uniforms, all tall with long legs and straight backs, each one more energetic than the other, especially the one in the second row on the left, with sword-shaped eyebrows and starry eyes, a tall nose bridge, and an intense masculine aura all over his body. My DNA is stirred. There are so many men, but none of them belong to me. I am very aggrieved. I stood up and staggered over, hugged the arm of the middle-aged uncle in front who obviously looked like a leader and cried, "Leader, when on earth will the country give me a partner?" The uncle was stunned and said with a smile, "Little girl wants to find a partner? How old are you?" I confessed my occupation, educational background, and ancestors one by one. The uncle's eyes looking at me became even kinder. "Not bad. Not bad. I just happened to have a suitable one. Ryan." Fallout. Then I saw that godlike man with sword-shaped eyebrows and starry eyes stand up and walk in front of me and salute with a snap. Report to the political commissar. 2. Ryan. You are not young anymore. Only by resolving personal issues can you devote yourself to work wholeheartedly. The political commissar exhorted earnestly for a few words, and then pointed at me. The organization orders you to be in a relationship with her. Is it okay? Ryan narrowed his eyes and looked me up and down. Only when he walked in front of me did I realize that he was even taller than I thought. Standing in front of me at this moment, the shadow he cast covered me, giving a great sense of oppression. My drunkenness immediately cleared up a bit and I regretted it a little. What is all this? He must think I am like an idiot. The other soldiers still sat motionless in their seats, but they all looked at us obliquely with smirks on their mouths. I was even more embarrassed. I curled my toes and forced a laugh. Well, I was just, report to the political commissar. Yes. I was dumbfounded. Is it that simple? So my mother didn't lie to me. The country really gives out partners. Laughter erupted in the carriage, and the soldiers clapped and cheered. What day is it today? Italian Commander Chen picked up a girlfriend when he went out. Report to the political commissar. I also want a girlfriend. When will the organization solve it for me? Go away. You are only 20 years old. What are you in a hurry for? Amid the laughter of the crowd, my face flushed red and I lowered my head in embarrassment. Then I saw a beautiful and slender hand stretched out in front of me. The nails are neatly trimmed and clean. The fingers are very long, and the joints are well proportioned. It is simply the incarnation of strength and beauty. Hello, girlfriend. I am Ryan. His voice is clear and magnetic. I am stunned. I looked up at him stupidly for a long time. When I realized it, I hurriedly stretched out my hand and shook his hand back. Hello. I am Sunny. 3. My hometown is a coastal city. Ryan and his comrades will come here for 4 months of sea training every summer. Ryan and I exchanged phone numbers and added each other on WeChat. We got off the high-speed train together. He nimbly climbed onto the military truck and waved to me. I will have a 1-day vacation next weekend. I will come to find you then. I stood there, watching the military truck leave. Dust rose on the road. Ryan's face was hidden in the dust and mist, as ethereal as a dream. Until I got home, I was still in a daze, seeing me in a trance. My mother provoked me. Xiaoya has also gotten married. You are the only one left in your dormitory. Why? Seeing others in pairs. Are you frustrated? I shook my head. Mom, I have a partner. My mother. Just you. Where did you get it? The country gave it to me. My mother rolled her eyes. It's not even dark yet and you are daydreaming here. I also feel like I am dreaming. But when I took out my phone and looked at it, in the top bar of my WeChat friends, a name was quietly lying there, Ryan. I clicked on his profile picture and browsed his moments. After flipping through a few pages, they were all political and current affairs news. A bit boring. I exited. After a while, I saw his moments updated. I hurriedly clicked in again. In a relationship. I have a girlfriend. In the photo, I am wearing a white dress and waving at him from a distance. The view is hazy and my whole face is not shown. It should have been taken by him on the military truck just now. I immediately felt my heart pounding like a drum and my face turned red. I couldn't help but smirk at my phone. Is he serious? So what happened just now is not a dream nor a joke. My mother came out with fruits. Seeing me like this, she grimaced in disgust. EWWW. This love is a look. I don't know which male star you are looking at again. 4. I ignored her, held my phone and went back to my room. I clicked on the chat interface with Ryan. After mulling over for a long time, I sent a message. Are you there? After sending it out, there was no response, like a stone sinking into the sea. I checked every few minutes, but still there was no reply. In the next few days, Ryan still had no news. I went from being full of anticipation at the beginning to gradually getting discouraged later. Forget it. I don't know if he was just joking. On the weekend, I went to have a midnight snack at a food stall with my friend. My best friend Wan Feng pulled my sleeve, looking infatuated. There's a handsome guy over there. So handsome. Sunny. Shall I ask for his contact information for you? I turned my head and saw that the boy was wearing a simple white t-shirt and shorts, with a clean and neat crew cut. He was indeed very handsome and seemed a bit familiar. I shook my head. Suddenly, Ryan came to my mind. Forget it. I'm not interested. Oh. You can't be like this. When will you end up being single? I tell you, you should take action when it's time. Wang Feng is a social butterfly. She rolled up her sleeves and rushed to the next table. She talked nonstop and pointed at me from time to time. I lowered my head in embarrassment and didn't dare to look in that direction. After a while, that handsome guy stood up and walked towards me. Sunny? The familiar voice. I looked up and stared at him blankly for a long time before realizing. You are Ryan? Ryan frowned. Don't you recognize me anymore? I didn't recognize you when you were wearing clothes. As soon as these words were spoken, there were gasps around the table. No, I mean, you changed into a different set of clothes, and you don't look the same anymore. The more I explained, the worse it got. My face flushed red. My friends at the same table looked at us and made ambiguous noises. Ryan raised an eyebrow. You only recognize clothes but not people? He reached out and took my arm and walked towards the quiet beach nearby. Then I need to deepen your impression. 5. The seawater merged with the gray sky. Darker and purer than the gray of the sky. The waves spread to the shore at an extremely slow speed and silently soaked to the soles of my feet. My heart was beating like a drum. In chaos. Ryan. My feet are all wet. Let go of my hand. The soles of my feet were wet and fines and squeezed in and stuck to the surface of my shoes. My hand was held in his broad palm. Warm. Hot and making me tongue-tied. Ryan chuckled and withdrew his hand. I called you all day today. Why didn't you answer? My phone is out of power. I slapped my head in annoyance. When I went out today, the battery was almost dead. Later, I was dragged by Wing Feng to go shopping for half a day, and forgot about it. Ryan heaved a sigh of relief. That's okay. I thought you were angry. I went on a week-long training at sea before. My phone was handed in. I didn't mean not to reply to your message on purpose. I felt even more guilty. Ryan had a special occupation. It was the first time he had a date with me. But I stood him up. Sorry. Ryan. It's so late now. It's not too late. Ryan interrupted me. His voice was low and hoarse. But his eyes staring at me were bright. He slightly bent down and leaned close to my ear. The warm breath blew up the strands of hair by my ear. It's not too late. There's still time to do what I want to do. My face immediately flushed red and I took a panicked step back. As I twisted my foot, Ryan reached out and put his arm around my waist. The astonishing heat came through the thin short-sleeved fabric. Ryan and I were pressed closely together. My heart was pounding wildly. I couldn't tell if it was his or mine. I'm in charge of watching tanks nearby this week. I don't need to go to sea and I don't need to hand in my phone. I will reply to every text message. Ryan gave me a tight hug and then let me go. He took my hand naturally. Let's go. It's getting late. I'll take you back. I didn't react immediately. What you said about what you want to do is just this. Oh my God. Mom. How did I accidentally say what was on my mind? Sure enough. Ryan raised an eyebrow in surprise. There was a hint of a smile in his long and narrow phoenix eyes. Not satisfied. Girlfriend? Want to take it a step further? I'm not. I didn't. Don't talk nonsense. I let go of Ryan's hand and ran forward. 6. There is a row of garages nearby where many tanks are parked. Ryan's task is to be in charge of leading people to guard these amphibious tanks. So he can occasionally come out to have a midnight snack at night. But he can't go too far. Saying taking me back is just sending me to my friend, and then watching me get into my friend's car and leave. I waved at him reluctantly. After the car drove a long way, I still kept looking in Ryan's direction. Oh my God. I can't stand it. You two are so lovey-dovey. While driving, Wang Feng leaned over and no sily. The battle was very intense just now. But it was a bit short. What are you talking nonsense? We just chatted for a while. No way. Just chatting? Sonny. You are really wasting a good opportunity. Wang Feng let out a scream, and then talked nonstop all the way, filling my head with dirty thoughts. I covered my ears with my hands and got out of the car as if fleeing. When I got home, I turned on my phone and charged it. Sure enough, a series of Ryan's text messages popped up on my phone. I happily read them one by one. The phone vibrated and another message came in. Ryan, Sonny. Have you arrived home? Me, yes. I'm home. Ryan, good. Go to bed early. Good night. Just this? Not even a single emoji. I was a bit disappointed. But then the hug just now flashed through my mind. His shoulders were broad. When I hugged him just now, I didn't feel it carefully. Now thinking back, I just felt that the muscles under his clothes were hard and he was full of strength. It's not a total loss tonight. I grinned foolishly and hugged the pillow and rolled on the bed. 7. Obviously. And not busy, that Ryan said, and the not busy. that I understood are two different concepts. The messages I sent always couldn't be replied to in time. Even if he replied, he didn't say much. He was a typical straight man. I was very helpless and sometimes sulked alone secretly. After he didn't reply to my WeChat message again, I got angry and directly dialed Ryan's video call. Several rings later, unexpectedly, the call was connected. Two unfamiliar faces appeared in the video. They looked very young, about 18 or 19 years old. Wow. A woman. Nonsense. Sister-in-law. Hello. Sister-in-law. Hello. Is Ryan there? I greeted them. The two of them excitedly waved at me together. Then the video started to turn. And after a moment, the picture was fixed. In the video, a huge armored vehicle appeared. A man was wearing camouflage trousers and military boots. He was shirtless and scrubbing the tracks. He was tall, mighty, and indestructible. I swear I'm talking about the vehicle. His skin was tanned bronze. His back was broad, with muscles bulging on both sides. There was a slight depression at the spine, like a perfectly curved hill, especially at the waist section. It narrowed inwards. And then the hips. Oh no. I can't take it anymore. You two brats. You do your work so perfunctorily. See? Scrub like this. Ryan walked over here. His 8-pack ABS were right in front of the camera. What are you looking at? Are you itchy? How dare you look at my phone? Oh damn. After a moment, Ryan's face appeared in the video. His cheeks were slightly flushed, and his expression was a bit unnatural. Sunny. I was even more unnatural. I blushed and nodded. Well, I sent you a message on WeChat just now, but didn't get a reply. So I called you on video. As I was speaking, I tried my best to look down, attempting to see Ryan's unclothed body through the thin screen. As I was looking, my chin unconsciously lifted, and my mouth pursed into a line. Are the ABS good-looking? Good-looking. As soon as the words fell, Ryan's clear laughter came. I blushed deeply and stammered, unable to say a word. Next time, I'll show you the real thing. Without waiting for me to speak, Ryan hung up the video. I threw away my phone and covered my face, emitting a groundhog scream. Why is his figure so perfect? I forgive you for not replying to my WeChat message. August 16th is the day when fishing resumes. After a long 3-month fishing moratorium, my mother was excitedly pacing back and forth in the living room early in the morning. Sonny, come with me to Huishu village. Your aunt is married in Huishu village. Today we can catch up with the first wave of returning fishing boats. Let's go to her house for a meal. I shook my head. I won't go. I hate visiting relatives the most. Oh wait. Huishu village. The place where I went for a late-night snack that day is next to Huishu village. Mom. I'll go. I'll go. I jumped out of bed and started rummaging through my closet to choose a beautiful dress. After carefully dressing up, my mother teased me. Those who don't know might think you're going to meet your lover. I am going to meet my lover. I was secretly delighted. Following my mother to Huishu village. According to the customs of the village, every household will invite relatives and friends to have a meal on the day when fishing resumes. My aunt's house was very busy. When she saw us, my aunt took a moment to pull my mother aside and talk. Oh, sister. I was so scared. The wind wasn't strong these days. But the village ancestral hall suddenly collapsed. Everyone said it's not very auspicious. Many people hesitated to go out to sea on this day. Collapsed. Was anyone injured? No. The village asked the neighboring garrison for help. They are cleaning up there. My eyes immediately lit up. The neighboring garrison? Isn't that where Ryan and his comrades are? I immediately picked up a bag of fruits. Aunt. Mom. I'll go and express my gratitude to the garrison. Oh. Still Xiao King is sensible. She's a graduate student indeed. Take this too. Also take a few bottles of drinks. I carried a large bag of things to the ancestral hall. From a distance, I saw Ian's figure. He was standing in front of a pile of ruins. Commanding. He was calm and composed. His handsome profile was almost shining in the sunlight. There were many young girls watching around. Chief Chen. I walked up to him and smiled, raising the things in my hand. I'll treat you to a drink. Ryan looked at me in surprise. Sunny? 9. Sunny. Don't waste your effort. Chief Chen won't accept it. They have strict discipline. They refuse to accept so many things sent by the village. A delicate voice sounded. I turned my head and saw that it was Sharon from the same village. When I was young, I often went to my aunt's house. I got along well with several peers in the village. Later, when I was in high school and college, our relationship gradually became distant. Sharon's father is the village chief. She has a good family background since childhood and is also very beautiful. She has always had a lofty princess-like demeanor. She walked up to us and looked at Ryan with a hint of shyness. Chief Chen said that they won't take even a single needle or thread from the masses. As soon as she finished speaking, Ryan had already taken the drink from my hand and unscrewed the bottle cap. Sharon immediately widened and her eyes in shock and stomped her feet in anger. Chief Chen, you're unfair. Why do you take Sunny's things but not mine? Ryan stood opposite me, his gaze firmly fixed on my face, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but rise. She's not an ordinary citizen. She's my family member. My face immediately flushed. I looked up at him, my heart full of pink bubbles. It's Sunny here. Wait for me under that shade over there. I obediently nodded and walked aside to watch Ryan busy. The ruins of the ancestral hall were quickly cleaned up. The village chief held Ryan's hand and warmly invited him to stay for a meal. Ryan refused. Sunny, I have to take them back to the camp first. I have a vacation the day after tomorrow. I'll come to find you then. Ah, are you leaving now? We only said a few words in total. I looked at Ryan reluctantly. On an impulse. I'll go with you. Ryan was stunned. I asked shyly, can't I go? You can go. Ryan gave me a deep look. Really want to go? In the sunlight, his amber pupils sparkled. For some reason, it reminded me of a hungry wolf on the grassland. 10. I got on the pickup truck with Ryan. The other soldiers all jeered around. Welcome, sister-in-law, to inspect our camp. Sister-in-law, do you still remember me? I'm Feng Dong. We video chatted before. A boy with dark skin grinned at me, and soon he was pulled away by others. Don't you have any sense? Everyone rushed forward and climbed into the cargo bed. In the spacious compartment in front, only Ryan and I were left. I was a bit embarrassed. There can still be 3 more people sitting in the back row. The sun is so strong outside. Ryan, let some of them come in. Sister-in-law, it's okay. I can be under the car. I can be on the roof. I can run after the car. More jeering sounds came from behind. My face flushed red and I quickly rolled up the car window. When we arrived at the camp, Ryan took me on a tour. The camp is not large. It is a place where the army specifically displays armored vehicles and tanks. The main camp is still dozens of kilometers away from here. I stood in Ryan's room and was somewhat shocked by the simplicity of the room. There was a plank bed in the corner. Due to the humidity by the sea, the walls were peeling off everywhere. There was a desk placed by the head of the bed, and a cabinet in the corner. All things were placed neatly as if measured with a ruler. You live here? I stood by the desk and looked at Ryan, feeling a bit distressed. Ryan clearly understood my look. With a light laugh, he walked towards me. Only deputy company commanders and above can live in single rooms. Others can only live in large bunk rooms. This is already considered good. Is this still considered good? Isn't there a room with better specifications? Ryan walked up to me, spread his hands and propped them on the desk, enclosing me in his arms. Yes. After getting married, We can live in a 2-bedroom. 1 living room standard suite. Forced to lean against the desk. I looked up at Ryan. The space was narrow. His body temperature carried astonishing heat. And the air around was filled with his scent. A faint fragrance of detergent dried in the sun. Hot. Scalding. And heart-stirring. I saw Ian's Adam's apple rolling up and down. His long and narrow phoenix eyes stared at me, and the color of his eyes darkened. Want to improve my housing conditions? Huh? His voice was deep and magnetic. And the ending trembled, as if there was a hook that scattered my calmness and reason. 11. My heart was beating out of control. I uncomfortably reached out and pushed Ryan. Ryan took the opportunity to press my hand against his chest. He leaned in close to me, and his tall nose was almost touching the tip of my nose. Yesterday. I don't know whose head was almost drilling into the screen. Didn't you want to see abdominal muscles? I felt my face was about to explode from blushing. I wished I could cover Ryan's mouth. You're talking nonsense. I didn't want to see it. Ryan let out a light laugh. His chest vibrated. The deep and pleasant laughter rippled and spread in the narrow room. Please, leader, inspect the work. As he spoke, he pressed my hand and let it slide down from his chest all the way to his flat and hard abdomen. Feeling the distinct hard muscles under my palm, my whole body went numb. Who can resist this? Sisters. I was almost in a daze. Looking at Ryan's handsome face so close at hand, I directly reached out and hooked my arm around his neck. I couldn't tell who took the initiative first. At the moment our lips met, my mind went blank. I only felt that there seemed to be a long-suppressed volcano inside Ryan that was going to burn me to ashes. Just hugging him, I could feel the almost trembling longing under his hard muscles. It got out of hand. But as soon as I thought of the reviewer looking at me with a magnifying glass beside me, I instantly came to my senses. Ryan buried his head in the crook of my neck and breathed heavily. His voice was full of regret. Sorry, Sonny. Did I scare you? No. It's okay. The two of us embraced quietly. I rested my head on his chin and looked around at the simple environment. Suddenly, a strong impulse swelled up in my heart. We've only known each other for less than a month. This is the 3rd time we've met. But I feel that getting married might not be a bad idea. If we get married, Ryan can live in a better place. Right? No way. Calm down. You damn love-struck fool. 12. The sudden ringing of the phone broke the silence. I hurriedly answered the phone. Sonny. What are you doing? Appear in front of me within 10 minutes. Or I'll break your leg. My mom was furious. I was completely confused. After a while, I realized that I had forgotten to tell my aunt. They were probably still waiting for me to have a meal. You come back right now. Do you hear me? Her loud voice came through the phone receiver. I looked at Ryan awkwardly. Did you come with your aunt? It's my fault for not being considerate enough. Let's go. I'll take you back. Ryan helped me straighten my skirt and took my hand. When we returned to Huishu village, the banquet had already started at my aunt's house. There were 5 or 6 large round tables set up in the yard. A group of middle-aged women were sitting at one table. My aunt was comforting my mom. All right. Sister, it's a good thing that Sonny is so proactive. Haven't you been worried that she only knows how to study and doesn't know how to find a partner? What's so good about it? Didn't you hear what Han said? Just after meeting, she shamelessly chased after Battalion Commander Chen. Where's her reserve? There's never been such a thing in the world. She's like a lovesick fool. It's so embarrassing. Others chimed in one after another. This can't be blamed on Sonny. You haven't seen Battalion Commander Chen's appearance. He's no worse than a star on TV. Yes. Cher and still has the nerve to talk about Sonny. Every time she can't wait to stick to him. My mom sighed. Alas. Han's family is well off. In this area, there's no one with better conditions than her. That Battalion Commander Chen didn't even look at her. Can he still look at our Sonny? Eagerly chasing after him to his camp. If she's driven out later, I'll be ashamed for her just thinking about it. The more they talked, the more outrageous it became. I was so embarrassed that I could dig a hole in the ground with my toes. Mom. My mom turned around and saw me. She jumped 3 feet high on the spot. Goodness. Sonny. You. Oh, Battalion Commander Chen is also here. Battalion Commander Chen. Please take a seat. Thank you for personally sending our Sonny back. My aunt was also arranging seats awkwardly beside. My mom glanced at Ryan. Her eyes lit up. Then she realized and gave me a fierce glare. 13. Well, Battalion Commander Chen. I'm sorry. It's really troublesome for you to make a trip. My mom walked up to Ryan shyly. Our Sonny is not usually like this. She's a very good person. She's also a counselor at the university. It's the Sherman University in the neighboring city. Have you heard of it? Battalion Commander Chen? Ryan nodded and took my hand in front of everyone. It's very good. Everyone stared wide-eyed, looking at our clasped hands in disbelief. Mom. I forgot to introduce just now. He is Ryan. My boyfriend. My mom opened her mouth wide. Boyfriend? How long have you been together? Ryan? Oh, 1 year. I immediately interrupted him and scratched the palm of his hand. If we say 1 month, my mom will keep asking questions over and over again later, which is very annoying. The following scene has nothing to do with me. Ryan was pulled to sit down by my aunt. My aunts and relatives enthusiastically surrounded him and asked questions. Ryan has a good temper and answers every question with a smile. Both parents are in the army? A native of Xiamen? My mom looked Ryan up and down with a pair of eyes and smiled so much that her face was almost split. On the way back, I was driving and my mom was sitting in the passenger seat. From time to time, she would still laugh out loud. Oh, Mom, can you stop laughing? I'm getting goosebumps from your laughter. Sure enough. Dogs that bite don't bark. Sonny King. Oh, how can you be so capable? My mom smiled and reached out and pinched my face. I rolled my eyes. My mom is like this. She always boosts others' morale and dampens her own. Don't I deserve Ryan? Why don't you say he is capable? Mom doesn't mean that. There are many girls with good conditions here. Good-looking boys are all snatched up like crazy. My mom explained all the way. When we got home, I was barely not angry anymore. The 2 of us worked together to carry my drunk father to the sofa. I was wearing a strapless long dress and my long hair was draped over my shoulders. It was too hot. I pulled my hair behind my neck. Immediately, my mom came over with sharp eyes. What are these red dots on your neck? The mosquitoes by the sea are really poisonous. I blushed and ran back to my room. Mom, I'll go apply some medicine. A mosquito by the sea is named Chen Hui. 14. My mom warmly invited Ryan to come to our house for dinner. I told him on the phone, and he readily agreed. My dad bought good wine a day in advance. The next day, my mom and I went to the vegetable market early in the morning to buy groceries and then went home to tidy up. But until mealtime, Ryan didn't show up. I went to my room to get my phone to call him when I saw the WeChat message he sent 3 hours ago. Sonny, I'm going out to sea for training. The return date is undetermined. Wait for me. I held my phone tightly in disappointment. Sonny, has Ryan come? Lao Jia. Go and pick him up at the gate of the community. He's not coming. They went out to sea for training. Looking at the table full of dishes, I had no appetite. My mom comforted me instead. Their occupations are special. When in love with a soldier, this is something one must endure. I had thought that the 2 of us would definitely be apart more than together. But I didn't expect that this process would be so agonizing. Ryan is not allowed to bring his mobile phone when going out to sea. I count the stars every day, look forward to the moon, and live by counting days on my fingers. I send him dozens of WeChat messages a day. But I can never wait for that little red dot. His profile picture is always gray. Wang Feng came to me again to have a late-night snack, and put 2 bottles of beer in front of me. Look at your love-struck appearance. What are you doing? Can't you live without a man? She doesn't understand at all. If Ryan wasn't good, I wouldn't miss him so much. But he is so great. I only touched his abdominal muscles once and then he disappeared. I'm really anxious. Oh. Isn't this sunny? There was a table of young men and women sitting next to us. Sharon was holding a wine bottle and greeting me. Sunny. You're really something. You've even captured Ryan. Ask him to come out for a late-night snack. I'll treat this meal. If you can get him to come. I'll treat everyone here. Sharon was stunned and asked me. What do you mean? Their Ryan has gone out to sea for training. After Wang Feng explained, Sharon immediately looked at me gleefully. It's just a man. I'll introduce you to another one. 15. I didn't want to pay attention to her at all. But Sharon was very enthusiastic and asked the waiter to push their table over. The food stalls here all have long rectangular tables. There were 6 people at Sharon's table plus the 4 of us. 10 people sat in a long row. There was a boy who happened to know Wang Feng. The drinking became even more lively. In the middle of drinking, several people left one after another. Suddenly, Sharon cried. Whew. Sonny. Why? What's better about you than me? Why did Ryan take a fancy to you? She had thick makeup on. Tears flowed down and washed away her eyeliner. She looked like a ghost. I could only comfort her. She took the opportunity to hold my hand and said she wanted to pick up conch shells with me. Tell the sad things to the conch shells and then throw them back into the sea. And there will be no more troubles. This idiot is quite romantic when drunk. It's too late. I want to go home. I broke free from her hand. But Sharon was very strong and held my wrist tightly. Are we still friends? When you lost your mom's necklace when you were a child, I stole money from home to make up for it. Have you forgotten? I immediately became dejected. Sharon was right. Although she is not so good now, she was quite loyal to me when we were young. I couldn't refute. I was pulled by her and walked towards the seaside. The others followed one after another. By this time it was already 1 o'clock in the morning. Only a few of us were left on the silent beach. Sharon lifted her skirt and picked up a conch shell. God, give me a man more handsome than Ryan. She threw the conch shell hard. Then I heard a gasp of hiss. In the black sea water, a figure slowly stood up. I couldn't see his appearance clearly, but suddenly a huge uneasiness welled up in my heart. Sorry, my friend didn't mean it. Sharon, let's go. The figure stood still. After a while, a second and a third figure emerged from the water. They formed a semicircular posture and slowly closed in on us. 16. I screamed and pulled Sharon to turn around and run. But it was too late. The people behind caught up and directly pulled my hair. I never thought that living in a peaceful era, I would still experience such a terrifying thing. Sharon and I were kidnapped. The people who kidnapped us were a group of illegal immigrants. Not only were they illegal immigrants, but they seemed to be drug traffickers. I had only seen such plots in movies before. At every critical moment like this, the male lead would descend from the sky and successfully rescue the female lead. Unfortunately, I couldn't wait for my hero. There is a deserted island nearby. The island is very small. When the tide comes, most of it will be submerged, leaving only a dilapidated house in the very center. I don't know which fishermen lived there before. There are some cigarette butts and drink cans thrown around messily inside. The kidnapper pointed a gun at the 2 of us. Who is surnamed Lin? Call your father and ask him to prepare 5 million in cash. It turns out they are here for Sharon. I smiled bitterly. This is really a disaster for no reason. Sure enough, Sharon's face changed instantly. She let out a scream of ah, and stood up with a gun on her forehead, glaring at the kidnapper fiercely. 5 million? Who the hell are you insulting? Am I only worth this much money? If this gets out, will I still be able to mix in Zeeman City in the future? The kidnappers looked at each other. The young leader among them narrowed his eyes and sized up Sharon. What do you mean? How much money do you want? 18 million. If you take 1 cent less, you can cut off my head. Sharon lifted her chin proudly. Bring me the phone. I'll call my father. The kidnappers were shocked by Sharon. Several people went outside and discussed in low voices. Thanks to this young lady, these kidnappers' attitude towards us has improved a lot. Especially the young leader, who also brought 2 bottles of water for us to drink. Miss, do you know how heavy 80 million in cash is? 920 kilograms. 1,800 cat ties. It can fill this house. Don't cause trouble for me. When they come in later, you change it to 8 million. Do you hear me? The young man lowered his voice. His thick bangs covered his eyes, so his expression couldn't be seen. But his tone was very helpless. Sharon lifted her chin stubbornly. No. This is my first kidnapping. It must not be less than this number. Not even a cent less. The two of them were almost arguing. Things were developing in a direction that I couldn't understand more and more. 17. I feel that Sharon's 80 million has greatly disrupted the plans of these kidnappers. The 3 of them quarrel outside every day. And the face of the young leader is getting darker and darker. Finally, on a dark and windy night, after the other two fell asleep, the young man woke me and Sharon up. There will be others coming tomorrow. It will be troublesome then. You two leave tonight. I looked at him in surprise and realized. Are you the legendary undercover agent? He didn't say anything, just pointed outside. The 2 of us carefully stood up, walked on tiptoe, and tried not to make any sound. I have contacted someone to pick you up, but the boat can't get too close, or it will make a sound. Can you swim? Swim a few hundred meters in that direction. We nodded, looking at the silent sea in the darkness. I was actually extremely scared, but still mustered up courage and walked forward hand in hand with Sharon. But just after taking 2 steps, this young lady suddenly let out a scream. Something pricked my foot. After saying that, she panicked and broke free from my hand and ran back. In the quiet night sky, the scream was extremely shrill. There's no time. You go first. I was pushed by the undercover comrade. A wave rolled over and swept me into the sea. I didn't dare to look back and swam desperately forward. While swimming, I cried. I felt extremely wronged and cursed Ryan 1,000 times in my heart. I also know that I really have no reason to curse him. But having watched too many idle dramas and novels, in times of danger, I always hope that my beloved will descend from the sky like a superhero. But as a result, I am alone in this pitch-black sea. It seems that there are countless monsters lurking underwater, ready to open their bloody mouths and swallow me at any time. But Ryan knows nothing. Not only does he not know, I can't even contact him at all. By the time he comes back, my mood will have already calmed down, and I will have lost the desire to talk. In our future interactions, the 2 of us don't know how many situations like this we will have to face. The seawater is cold. The chill creeps into my bones through my pores. I have never been so sober at any moment. I start to regret a little. Can I really accept such a relationship? Joyful, saddened, painful, with no one to talk to and no one to accompany. In the darkest and scariest moments, I have to bear it alone. Suddenly, a large wave rose in the distance. In the darkness, it seemed that something huge was approaching me. At that moment, the fear and panic in my heart reached their peak. I closed my eyes and cried bitterly. Ryan, I want to break up with you. 18. A speedboat cleaved through the waves and stopped in front of me with a roaring sound. A hand reached out from the boat and grabbed my arm. Sonny, what did you say just now? I opened my eyes in astonishment. Ryan? Ryan's face was livid. He lifted me out of the water in one go. I sat down in the speedboat. The feeling of being on solid ground came. The tense string in my heart suddenly loosened. I hugged my knees and cried. Ryan sighed and squatted down to hug me. Were you terrified? I nodded and reached out to hug his neck. I was almost scared to death. Ryan patted my back to comfort me and chatted with me intermittently to distract me. It turns out that he came back yesterday but received a notice from the local police saying that they requested the cooperation of the military to capture several smugglers on the run. Your parents don't know about this yet. Wang Feng didn't dare to tell them. Your father has a heart problem. You stay outside tonight. Tomorrow. Pack up and go back. Don't worry your parents. With a calm and composed tone. As if instructing subordinates to do things. I felt even more wronged. Back on shore. Ryan found a hotel and took me to check in. After I took a shower and put on a bathrobe and came out, I saw Ryan sitting on the sofa. With a straight face and a tightly clenched jawline. Comrade Sonny. What did you mean by what you said just now? Explain. I walked over and sat on the bed, pursing my lips and not speaking. What to say? Looking at Ryan's face. Who can still say the words break up? Sonny. The two-word soldier are not only an honor but also a responsibility. Ryan came over and squatted in front of me, holding my hand. His expression was rarely serious and solemn. My parents are both soldiers. Since I have memory, our family has never spent a new year together. My father often says that on days of reunion, our family is not reunited so that thousands of families can be reunited. The reunion of thousands of families is my ideal and also my belief. Not everyone can be an army wife. In many difficult moments in the future, I won't be able to be by your side. I hope you can carefully consider this relationship clearly. Contact me again when you think it through. Ryan stood up and walked to the door. My mind was in a mess. 19. How could he do this? At this time, shouldn't he coax me and comfort me? Why is he reasoning with me so rationally? The grievance and anger in my heart erupted like a volcano. And I couldn't hold it back any longer. Ryan, what do you mean? If I insisted on breaking up just now, would you have agreed? Ryan's footsteps stopped. After a long time, he uttered, His hand was gripping the doorknob hard, and the veins on the back of his hand protruded. Sonny, I know how hard it is to be a military wife. I can understand all your grievances and moods just now. I can't bear to see you suffer like this. Ryan exhaled deeply, then opened the door and left without looking back. I stood at the door in a daze and watched him leave, feeling as if a large piece had been hollowed out of my heart. No, is this a breakup? I'm a bit dazed. Rationally speaking, Ryan is right. If I insist on being with him, there will be many difficulties and embarrassments that I can't predict at all later. But emotionally, I don't want to break up with Ryan at all. Not at all. He is so good and so crazy-making. If I miss him, I'm not sure if I can encounter such a completely intoxicating relationship again in this life. I hesitated whether to chase after him. Suddenly, there were footsteps outside the door. I looked up and saw Ryan standing in front of me with an embarrassed look. He pointed to the coffee table. I forgot to take something. There was his military officer certificate on the coffee table. I don't understand why he put his certificate there. Ryan walked in and picked up the certificate. I still stood motionless at the entrance. The entrance of the hotel is narrow. I stand in the middle. Ryan walked past me sideways. The corner of his clothes brushed against my bathrobe. He still had that nice smell, like fresh sunshine, which can dispel all the haze and darkness. Suddenly I reached out and grabbed his belt. Ryan was stunned and turned to look at me. His voice hoarse. Remember to lock the door later. I nodded and stared at him without blinking. Ryan, call me after you think it over. Ryan, Sonny. Let go. I nodded. But my hand still held his belt. 20. Ryan raised his eyebrows. The downlight on the top casted an orange light, casting a shadow on his tough brow bone. His Adam's apple rolled up and down with difficulty. We looked at each other. The air around became sticky and heavy, and almost electric currents and sparks were darting. Ryan suddenly curved his lips. His usually extremely serious face had such an evil smile, with indescribable charm and allure. Still not letting go? I also smiled. I stood on tiptoe and approached his face. Ryan, did you leave the military officer certificate on purpose? I bit him on the chin. Ryan immediately pressed over and pushed me against the wall. The scorching kiss with scalding breath was overwhelming. Sonny, I gave you a chance. Ryan reached out and undid the belt of my bathrobe. Then there are 3,000 words that I really want to write but are not allowed by the review. It was a wild time. The curtains were not opened for 3 days. On the 4th day, I finally realized it and had an expression of being deceived. Well, are you on vacation? Then you said you were going back before. Where were you going back to? Ryan smiled and put his arms around my waist and changed the subject. I have a 7-day vacation this time. Shall we visit your parents tomorrow? My parents knew nothing about my kidnapping. They warmly entertained Ryan. During this period, my mother gossiped with me about Sharon's kidnapping. Helicopters were dispatched, which alarmed many reporters and caused a stir. It seems that an undercover policeman has made great contributions. It's really too dangerous. Fortunately, we don't have so much money. Well, Xiao Chen, you two have been in a relationship for more than a year. You two are about the same age. Look, when can we arrange a time for our two families to meet? I looked up in shock and wanted to stop my mother. Ryan held my hand under the table. Sure, Aunt. I forced a smile. No need, right? It seems a bit fast. What's fast? Do you still want to be in a relationship for 10 or 8 years? You are 28 now. Do you think you are 18? My mother started talking nonstop again. I could only helplessly shut up. 21. I feel that I am firmly in Ryan's control. I have never been a very strong person. But the loss when we are apart can always be filled with passion by Ryan when we meet. Sometimes when I lose my temper, I will also act petty. But I dare not mention the word breakup again. Because I know Ryan's sensitivity in his heart. He always feels guilty towards me. I'm afraid he will take it seriously. On my birthday, I lost contact with Ryan for 8 hours again. I returned to the apartment and sat alone in the empty living room, staring at the birthday cake in a daze. Suddenly there was the sound of a key turning at the door. I turned my head. Ryan was standing at the door holding a gift. I was pleasantly surprised and threw myself at him and hugged him. How did you come? Aren't you in training outside? The training is over. I took the high-speed train back overnight. Today is someone's birthday. I'm afraid she will lose her temper if I don't come. Ryan pinched my nose. I slapped his hand away. Why should I be angry? I don't dare to compete with the country for people. Ryan looked at me doubtingly and smiled. Sonny, I belong to the country and also to you. He closed the door and put the gift on the table. This is the first birthday gift for you. Is there a second one? Ryan nodded and slowly unfastened his military green tie and tied it around his eyes. This is the second gift. He held me in his arms and his hot breath blew on my earlobe. You can use it however you want. My face instantly flushed red. This man is really so good at it. 22. Our parents have met and are both very satisfied with each other. My mother has started constantly urging me to get married. But in fact, the number of times Ryan and I have met can be counted on 2 hands. I still think it's too soon. Ryan begins to tempt me from time to time. Now I can only take a 30-day leave. After getting the marriage certificate, I can take a 2-month leave. At that time, there will also be a sum of family honorary funds and separation compensation fees. The battalion will also allocate a house. Don't you want to improve my living environment? Heh. Is that all? Am I the kind of person who is crazy about love? I sit on a small stool and watch Ryan and let a group of soldiers running past in front of me. Everyone is wearing camouflage trousers, but their upper bodies are naked. 1, 2, 3, 4. So many 8-pack ABS. Who am I? Where am I? Is this heaven? If I live in the camp in the future, will I often be able to see this wonderful scene? After finishing running and coming back, I nod seriously to Ryan. I think your proposal just now can be considered. Ryan lifts his chin and sneers. Are the ABS good-looking? Just so. Not as good-looking as yours. Ryan purses his lips and tries hard to suppress the rising corner of his mouth. I've changed my mind. Don't be in a hurry. You think it over clearly again. I glare at him. There's no need to think about it. That's it. You go and write a report. I tell you, after this village, there won't be this shop anymore. Ryan chuckles and leans over to plant a kiss on my lips. Yes, sir. The end of the book. Epilogue. A letter of will note. Before many soldiers carry out dangerous drills and trainings, they will be required to write a will. After returning safely, the will be torn up. If something happens, that letter of will be sent to the recipient. This is a real situation. My younger brother in the army has written such special letters many times. Always be grateful for the contributions of soldiers. Sonny, I've been struggling for a long time whether to write this letter to you. We have only met once. Perhaps you have a shallow impression of me. If that's the case, it would be great. After receiving this letter, you can casually put it aside. I hope it won't ruin your good mood today. If, like me, unfortunately ripples arise in your heart. This is exactly the reason why I struggled repeatedly and wrote to you. I have never been moved by anyone in my life until I met you. Before this, I always thought that love at first sight was just being attracted by appearance. But after seeing you, I realized what it was. It is a completely strange experience, full of palpitations, joy and loss. I'm very glad that you chose this train. I'm very glad to meet you here. Your life journey is still very long. We met in a short stop. I hope you can meet other happiness. Perhaps it might be a bit presumptuous to say so. Sonny, I have been a firm materialist all my life. But for you, I hope there is an afterlife. If there is an afterlife, I'd better be an ordinary person. I can meet you again, and have a long and ordinary love. Sincerely. Salute.